In 14.4, we are going to look at some multi-step equations. What that means is you cannot just solve them in one or two steps. You got to do a little bit of work before you do the solving. So like we talked about in 14.3, combining like terms, we have to do that first, and then we can go ahead and solve just like we've been doing in 14.1 and 14.2. All right. So let's take a look at this first one. My numbers got a little bit messed up when I uploaded it on here to record, but go with it. All right, so that first equation, we have 2x plus 5x plus 6 minus 1 equals 19. All right, we may only combine like terms on each side of the equation separately before we solve. So I cannot combine the 6, the negative 1, and the 19 all together. I have to do a little work first. So let's start with our x terms. If I have 2 x's and I have 5 more x's, I now have a total of 7x, right? And then I have 6 minus 1. Well, what is 6 minus 1? It's 5. So I'm adding 5 now. And then the rest of my equation remains the same. It still equals 19. Now this should look familiar to you because once we have done and simplified this, it becomes a two-step equation. How do I solve for x? Well, we get rid of the numerical value. What is the opposite or the inverse of adding 5? I hope you said subtracting 5. So I am now left with 7x is equal to 19 minus 5 is 14. What's next? What's the inverse to get rid of the 7? It's currently being multiplied, right? So the inverse would be to divide by 7. So x is equal to, what is 14 divided by 7? 2. The value of x is 2. Now on number 2, you'll just see the equation, all of the terms are on the right side and we just have a numerical value on the left side of that equal sign. So let's start solving. If we have a 4x and a negative x, I need to combine those like terms when they're on the same side. What is 4x plus a negative 1x? I always like to put that 1 in there. Well, 4x plus negative 1x is 3x. Now I can add my constants. 1 and 10 is 11. And it's all still equal to 29. Okay, once again, at this point, it becomes solving a two-step equation. So the only thing that's different is that first step where we're combining those like terms. So the inverse of adding 11 is to subtract 11 from both sides from the constant. Notice where I'm subtracting it from. 29 minus 11 is 18 equals 3x. Now the inverse of multiplying by 3 would be 2. Divide by 3 to both sides, so the value of x is 6. Hopefully you are recognizing that this is just another step. That's why it's called multi-step. So first we're combining those like terms, then it breaks it down and it's a simplified one or two step equation. If you feel good, I say go for it. Pause the video here and then I will... But you can fast forward if you know what you're doing, just check your answer. All right, on the left side here, we have negative 3x and a positive 2x. Well, negative 3x plus 2x would be negative 1x. And I'm actually going to keep my negative 1 there and not just write it at negative x. Now, negative 7 plus 9 is 2, so plus 2 is equal to, I still have to bring that 5 down. All right, to solve this equation, what do we got to do? First step, subtract 2 from both sides from those numerical values, and I'm left with negative 1x equals 5 minus 2 is 3. Now, I chose to leave this as negative 1x because I knew in this last step, I can't have a negative x. I need to isolate x and get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Therefore, x is equal to negative 3. All right, next one, let's keep going. 9x and x is 10x. 5 minus 2 is 3, so plus 3 equals 23 still. Got to bring that down. First step, subtract 3 from both sides, get rid of that constant. So we have 10x is equal to 20. Then divide both sides by 10. Since it's being multiplied, the inverse is multiplication or division, so x is equal to 2. All right, hopefully you're feeling a little bit better about these. So I want you to go ahead, pause now, and solve these next two on your own. All right, I'm going to walk through these, but if you feel good, like I said, just forward and check your answers. So 4x and 2x is 6x. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2 equals 20. Got to get rid of the numerical value, so subtracting 2 from both sides. 20 minus 2 is 18 equals 6x. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we have x is equal to 3. All right, negative 4x plus, negative 1x. I always write that 1 in there just to remind me that's what it's representing. Now, negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. You're going more negative. Is that where you messed up? Check. Make sure you have negative 5x. Now, 5 minus 2 is 3, and we still have equals 28. To solve this two-step equation now, subtract 3 from both sides from that numerical value. So I have negative 5x is equal to 28 minus 3 is 25. And I got to get rid of that negative 5. How do I do it? Division, of course, because we're currently multiplying. So x is equal to, 25 divided by negative 5 is a negative 5. All right, let's take a look at an application. Here we have a triangle, and it tells us the perimeter is 30. Do you remember what perimeter means? Hopefully, you're thinking in your head, perimeter is all the way around the outside. It's the length around a shape. You would be right. So the perimeter of this triangle is 30. I want to find what is the value of x. Well, perimeter is when I'm adding all of those side lengths together. So x plus 3 plus 2x minus 1 equals my entire perimeter. Well, guess what? I know what it is. It's 30. Now we can see that we have to combine like terms. So I have 1x, and 2x. Well, 1x plus 2x is 4x. 3 plus negative 1 is 2, and we still have equals 30. Again, it becomes a two-step equation. So subtracting 2 from both sides, I have 4x is equal to 28. And then the last step, since I'm multiplying by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4, x is 7. Now, do we even know what we're talking about? Let's plug it back in and see. So 7 would be the length here because it's just x. Over here, it would be 7 plus 3, which is 10. And then down here, 2 times 7 is 14. 14 minus 1, this side length would be 13. Well, does our perimeter in fact add up to 30? 13 plus 7 is 20 plus 10. Check. We did do our math correctly. Okay, really, I want you to try these on your own. So pause the video, and I'm not even going to explain them. I'm just going to show my steps for how I got the answer and put the answers up. All right, so that first one, you have to be careful with the negatives. We would get x is equal to negative 20 for number 8. And we can plug that back in and check. And when we do, 5 times negative 20 minus 3 minus 8 times negative 20 minus 7 is in fact 50. And number 9, we get the value of x is equal to 7. Now, again, you can plug that back in. You can always check yourself on these equations and make sure that you did your math correctly. And I'm just going to show you really quick. So 7 times 7 is 49. 49 plus 5 is 54. 54 minus 7, because that's the value for x, right? 54 minus 7 is 47, plus 6 is in fact 53. So we know that we calculated the correct value. All right, these are the last two examples for this section. So pause the video, and again, I will put my written work on the screen. Alrighty, for number 10, you should get the value of x is negative 4. And for number 11, you'll see my equation up top here in blue, adding up all those sides, setting it equal to 40 for the perimeter, solving for x, I get x is equal to 8. All right, that is a wrap for lesson 14.4, multi-step equations. We've got one more thing to add just to make it a little bit more complex, but you can go ahead and do lesson 14.4 homework.